Anyway, so I guess here we are. What? No escape, huh? Uh, I was just calculating. This is probably my fourth time at the Southeast Gathering. Either you, either you guys are desperate or you're very short of memory. But any case, thank you for inviting us again. The first time I came was in 1984, way back then. And I came by myself. Amrit didn't come on that time. But to my delight, when I got here, the other guest was Kitty Devi. Yeah. So it was so nice to be here with her and hear her stories. And anyway, here we are, back again. Please don't make the mistake again, huh? This is it. As Chris said in the introduction, I was born in 1944 at Viloo's in the house. My mother was Viloo's younger sister. Her name was Gulu. And two years back, when the memorial tower was inaugurated, I had no idea that my mother's name was going to be on there. Yeah. The reason for that was because, as I say, my mother passed away while giving birth to me, and at that time, Baba had just performed that ceremony where he had those two graves. Of course, one grave was for Masaji, and the other one was where Chanji's bedroll was interned, according to Baba's wishes. And then Baba threw a flower in the grave for each one of his lovers that had passed away. And shortly after that, the next day, I think it was, or a couple of days later, the news comes that my mother was in a critical condition. She had given birth to me, but she had gone into a coma, and it didn't look like she was going to survive. So my father came and asked Baba to come to her bedside, which Baba, to her great, her great good fortune, agreed to do. And this was at Viloo's. So Baba came there, and my mother had gone into a coma, and she was close to breathing her last, and her eyes were open. So Baba physically closed them and then turned to my father and said, "Don't worry, she's now with me." And then he just inquired, "Where's the baby?" Which was me. So I'd already been taken and placed in a crib in the next room. So I was told that Baba came over to the crib and he played with my little pinky finger and then left. But not before Viloo cornered him and said, "Well, if you're God, how are you allowing this to happen? How are you allowing my beloved sister to die?" So Baba apparently sat for over an hour to her, trying to explain how her good fortune. But anyway, at that time, Viloo was more interested in, the loss of my mother than what Baba was telling her. Anyway, so that's where my birth took place, and that's where I lived for the first 13 years of my life. Viloo and Sarosh had 3 kids of their own. The youngest one, named Franny, was born in October. My birth took place in December. So Viloo brought us up almost like twins. So the first 13 years of my life, when we were taken anywhere, it was always Franny and myself. And I was really fortunate to be part of that family. Of course, I never never had any relationship with my mother, of course, but I never at the same time felt, at loss of a mother. Viloo and Sarosh played that role perfectly. My father, of course, was still there. He hadn't disappeared, but he was more an uncle to me in those days than my father. It was only when I moved to England, as Chris said, way back in '58, that, my dad, I knew him as my father. But in the meantime, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, my father remarried. My stepmother died, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
Yeah. My half-sister Shireen, of course, she lives in Santa Fe. And so going back to my childhood at Viloo's, it was a wonderful childhood. That place was really a beautiful home for me. And there were not too many occasions, for whatever reason, that I had an chance to visit with Baba. But on the few occasions that I did go, first of all, we as kids were told, always to be on our best behavior when you're in front of elders, which we did. But when we were told, Baba, you're going to visit Baba, we were given extra instructions. You don't go and rush to him. You don't, you be careful. You don't hurt Baba. And so when we would be taken to see Baba, with all these instructions, we were very, very scared, and we'd approach Baba, act like we were just robots. So I'm just talking to myself. I would stand, far away from Baba, and then Baba would sort of gesture to me and said, "What's wrong with you? Come here." So of course, as soon as I'd get within reach, to make me feel comfortable, and he would reach out and start to tickle me. So of course, I knew that what I was told is not what Baba would like. So of course, I'd then run up to him, embrace him. And then Baba would say, he'd ask after my school, how's school? At this juncture, I was 7, 8 years old. So I said, Baba, classes are okay, but I struggle with maths. I'm very bad at maths. So Baba said, don't worry. So was I. Then Baba said, come on, let's play some games. And just being there or next to him, what games could one play? But these are games we played as kids amongst ourselves, and so did Baba. So one game is where you put your hand out, and the other person, being Baba, is to slap it. But you remove your hand. So of course, when he does, he just hits thin air. So that's 1 point to you. So Baba said, let's play this game. So he put his hand out, and I thought, I'm young, I'm much faster than Baba, so this is easy for me. So of course we started to play, and every time I would miss. Then of course Baba said, your turn. And I'd put my hand out, and I said, my hand is so small, Baba's not going to hit it. But every time Baba would hit it. So after a little while, Baba said, okay, let's try another game, which is where you conceal fingers of one hand in the other hand. You cup it like this, and the other person's supposed to catch hold of your middle finger. So once again, I thought, I got such small fingers, it's not possible for him to catch my middle finger. But each time Baba got it right, and each time I tried it, I got it wrong. So after a little while, I got a little frustrated and said, Baba, this is not fair. You're cheating. Baba looked aghast. He said, look at this boy. You know, here I'm God, and he's accusing me of cheating. So I can only say, Baba put this in my head, and I said, Baba, but you're not cheating as God, you're cheating as my uncle. So Baba embraced me and said, okay, that's it. So that was one occasion. Then on another time, now this was in 1954, when what we know as the 3 Incredible Weeks, that Sahavas program that Baba had arranged on the hill, for which some Baba's Western lovers had come. I don't know how many there were, but there was a bunch. And they were housed there at Mehrabad. So Baba, knowing that Viloo was good with catering for Western style food, asked her to cook for them. So Viloo set up her kitchen where what we know as Mansari's kitchen, for those who've been there. And Viloo herself couldn't even boil an egg, but she had a wonderful team under her, and she personally trained them. So she brought her whole team out there to cook for these Western men. And then every evening she would come out there to supervise. On some occasions, we'd be back from school, we meaning Franny and myself, and Viloo would say, come along, come with me. So we'd get a chance to also go there to Mehrabad. So of course we'd arrive there, and the first thing we'd do was to be taken to where Baba was and greet him. And then as kids we'd go off and start playing by ourselves, 7 tiles or just throwing ball at each other. Now on one occasion when we got there, we were told to go to see Baba. So as I was going there, I saw Baba playing table tennis under the tin shed. There was a table tennis table there, and he was playing against 2 of the Western men. So Baba spotted me and he said, come, good. After greeting me, he said, good, you can be the ball boy. When the ball flies off the table, you go and fetch it. So I thought, oh good, I got something to do here. And of course, I'd wait for the ball, somebody to miss the ball, and run after it and bring it, and I'd take it back to Baba, even though I knew it wasn't his turn to serve, and the Western man would say, no, here boy, give it to us, yeah? And I'd ignore them and give it to Baba. At least I had that much good sense, because each time I went to Baba, he would give me a pat on my head with his table tennis racket, yeah.
Come get it.
And one other story I can narrate is this time when I was in school. Again, I must have been about 8, 9 years old, and after lunch, we would be out in the schoolyard playing games. It depended on what time of the year it was. Accordingly, we'd play that particular game. Like we'd spin tops, we'd fly kites, but on this occasion it was marbles. So there were 4 or 5 of us in this little group playing marbles, and it was in the school courtyard. It wasn't very big, and in those days there's very little traffic in Ahmednagar. You could almost count the cars that were there. So I was standing waiting for my turn when I noticed that in front of the school there was a road leading to the main Poonanagar road. Now I don't quite know why Baba had come on that particular road, but to my good fortune he did. So I saw this car pulling up. It was Amrit Irani's Chevrolet, and my eyes got fixed on the car, and it went a little ahead of the gate and then stopped. and somebody got out of the car and beckoned me to the car. So I go running up to the car, and I find Baba seated in the front seat with his feet down. And he asked me to clamber up into the car, which I could easily do. I was small, which I did. And then again, first thing, Baba embraced me and then said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Baba, I'm playing marbles." So Baba said, "Yes, I also like to play marbles. Show me your marbles." So I had a pocket full of marbles. I pulled a few out and put it in the palm of my hand. Baba picked one marble up and admired it and said, "Oh, isn't this a pretty marble?" And then gave it back to me. But before leaving, he put his hand on my head, and I could see a look of disappointment. He said, "You're playing in the sun and your head is very hot. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that." Mm-hmm. And then, of course, his expression again changed. He gave me a big smile and embraced me, and he said, "Go back." He asked me, Are you winning?" Fortunately, on this occasion, I was. Otherwise, I wasn't very good at marbles. I said, "Yes, Baba, yes." So he said, Good, go back to your game. And so that was it.
What about Francis Brabazon when you were growing
No,
up?
that was much later.
What about the
I
building
wasn't a
in
kid
Monday
anymore.
Hall? In the Monday
I was
Hall?
into rock and roll.
What we decided today, we'll start with our childhood, and then gradually we'll grow up. Tomorrow Baba will arrange our marriage, and then tomorrow we'll get married, and then day after we'll talk about our parents and other stories.
But talking about childhood, can I share a couple of money auntie stories with you, which recently I heard again. Probably I was in the hall recording the story, but going back to childhood, money auntie told this childhood story of hers about going to school. So she said, studies and I didn't go well together, meaning, I didn't enjoy going to school, but because Baba said, "You have to finish your schooling and come first, and then you can join me," I would work at it. But she said, at the same time, I was lucky that Baba made me a clever girl. So I didn't have to really struggle with my studies. When the time came, I would do my studies and come first in class. So she said, for me, studying was in school, in class, but at the same time we would get homework. And she said, "Homework? Who? This is, who wants to do work at home?" So she said, as soon as I'd get home, I'd come through the door, I'd peep in, I wouldn't find my mother there. So I'd quickly throw my school bag in one corner, my solar topi, which they had to wear, in another corner, and then rush out of Baba house into the alleyway to play with my friends. But my mother would spot me and come running out and say, "Money, money, money, come and do your homework." And she said, later. And my mother would say, plead with me, "Money, money, you have to finish your homework first and then play. And look at your friend Homai, how good she is. She's doing her homework." So Money auntie said, "Well, if she's that good, she can also do my homework."
There's our money auntie. Yeah.
Then there's another story she would tell about, again, being a young girl and coming back from school. And very often she said she would find her mother talking to this elderly Persian lady, a friend of hers. And of course, I as a kid would find her very boring, but my mother would always call me to greet her. So she said I would reluctantly go up to her because she would kiss me, and she said she had these horrible wet kisses. So as soon as she kissed me, I'd rush and wash my face. But my mother would call me back, no, come here and talk to Gulandun. So I'd have to reluctantly come back. So she said on one of these occasions, she looked at me and said, my child, when you grow up, what will you be? So she said, I just looked up at her and I said, I'll be as old as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, carry on. You're doing very
I'm done.
No, you're not done.
I can't keep stealing other people's stories.
No, you're coming back from England and visiting Baba.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, at the age of 13, I went to England. My father and my stepmother, Franny, had already moved to England, I think 4 or 5 years earlier, in 54, 55, something like that. And I was, happily staying with Viloo and Sarosh, but this bug got into me and I started to pester Viloo and say, I want to go and stay with my father. Then I started to call him my father. I don't like it here anymore. So poor Viloo, she tried to appease me, but nothing seemed to work. So she finally went to Baba and said, Baba, Dara doesn't seem to be happy living here anymore. He wants to go and go to England and be with Adi and Franny. So Baba said, if that's the case, then, well, we'll make arrangements for him to go there. So in 1958, I went to England. In the meantime, Shireen, my half sister, was born in England, and my stepmother Franny and my father, I think he also came, although amazingly I have no recollection of him being there. But of course, Franny and Shireen, they were the ones who escorted me back to England. I'm saying Shireen, of course Shireen was just a baby. In fact, I started to babysit her. So, any case, I ended up going to England.
Then he came back when you were 16-year-old. He came back.
Oh.
And then all those things happened.
So anyway,
Old
man. So of course I ended up going to England, and then after a few years of being there, I realized I'd made a big mistake, and I was longing to go back to India, but then Baba kept me there for 15 years. Any case, that's a different story. But I don't know what Amrit's trying to say. Yeah.
I'll tell you the in-between story.
Oh, God.
So, when he was something like 20 years, he came when he was 16. Why don't you tell about Francis Brevison and you when you were 16?
Mm-hmm.
Tell that story.
Tell that story. So, then, okay. So, as I say, just, the first opportunity I had to come back to India, of course, Baba had me go back. I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to come back to Viloo Villa and remain there. But Baba said, no, not now. You go back to your life in England. In any case, the reason we came was because it was time for Shireen to have her thread ceremony, her Navjot ceremony. So my father, of course, wanted her to have Baba's blessings. So we came. Shireen was 7 years old at the time, and I was 20. So we came and ended up staying.
You were 20?
I was 20.
I thought you were 16.
No.
18? No? Okay.
So I ended up staying there from December of 64 till March of 65 for 3 months. And it was just an incredible time. Baba would invite us to spend time with him at Merazad 2-3 times a week. I'd be staying at Viloo's, which I always considered as my home. And my stepmother and Shireen would be staying with her parents, who lived very close to Viloo's. So, but we'd always, Sarosh would always arrange for us to be taken to Merazad. So we'd go there and spend the day there.
Come on.
Yeah, so we, as I get there, Baba would be already in Mandi Hall. He'd be seated, so we'd go up to him and embrace him and greet him, and then I would sit with the rest of the Mandi and listen to the proceedings that took place. As I keep saying, I was mostly a spectator. Sometimes Baba would turn to me and say something to me directly. For instance, once he asked me, by this time, as I had already done with my studies, I didn't get very far with them, and I was working in an engineering factory as a sheet metal worker. So Baba asked me, of course, he must have heard through my father or whoever what I was doing. So he asked me about my work, so I told him, and Baba said, must be difficult. I said, yes, Baba, but I can manage. And then he said, well, how do you go to work? So I said, Baba, well, I have to walk about a mile, then catch a bus, and then again walk a mile. And Baba said, I don't know if I could do that. So I said, but no, Baba, by your grace, I'm able to do that. I was beginning to lose my vision, but I still had enough to be able to be independent up to that point. Any case, then sometimes Baba would turn to me and say, Dara, love me, I am God. Yeah. Okay, and this would go on for a bit, and then one day, so this is what Amrit wants me to tell you. One day Baba said, Dara, I heard you like music. I said, yes, Baba, I like music. Unfortunately, you haven't blessed me with a good voice, so I can't sing, or, I don't have the gift to play an instrument, although I tried to learn to play the guitar, but didn't get very far with that either. So, but anyway, Baba said, we have the Francis here who composes music. Why don't you go and talk to him about music? So I said, okay, Baba. So Francis was in his room, which was in that cottage opposite Mandi Hall, in one of the rooms. So I walk up to the veranda, and I couldn't see Francis, but I could see the smoke coming out of his room, because Francis smoked. He liked cigarettes. So I walked in there, and there was Francis sitting on a stool with a piece of paper in his hand. He must have composed something, and he looks up at me and he says, yes? And I said, Francis, had a very gruff kind of voice, and I said, well, Baba sent me here to talk to you about music. So he said, is that right? What music? So I said, Francis, rock and roll. So he said, you call that music? I said, yes, Francis. Yeah, the Beatles, the Who, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin. Surely, you've known that. So he totally ignored me, and then he picks up his little harmonium and he puts it on the table, and he plays the music to accompany his poem that he had just written for Baba. And so, one thing, when Francis, said, rock and roll, you call that music? I said, well, yes, I love it, Francis, but if you must be a square if you don't like it. So anyway, so I say then Francis, he's had enough of me. He picks up his harmonium and he plays, and then he reads out the poem that he'd written along with the music. He could see that, it was way above my head. So he said, come on. And he takes the paper in his hand and leads me back into Mandi Hall. So barely 5-10 minutes must have passed. So Baba's surprised to see us back so soon. So he says, what happened? Well, Francis says, Baba, you sent him to discuss music with me, and he talks about music, rock and roll music, which I have no
idea.
No, he said, of course, I believe he did, but he said, I have no interest in. And when I recited my ghazal, I could see that, way over his head, yeah? And then on top of it, he calls me a square. So Baba turns to me and he says, square? Francis looked more round to me than square. So I said, Baba, well, it's not a geometric term. It's a term you used in those days for somebody who was old-fashioned. Yeah. So then Baba said, well, if that's the case, then what term would you use for me? I'm the ancient one. Burst my bubble. So that's it.
That's it?
I'm done.
I'll tell you one more story about that time. Should I? Yes. Then I'll go. Do we have time? Yes. Okay. Just do like that, and I'll know it is 1 hour. In same time when he's visiting Baba, one day he's sitting in Mandli Hall, and all the Mandli people, they're sitting on rugs down. There were no carpets. There were very plain, simple, thin rugs were there, and they would sit on that. Oh. And Dara, he's been brought up at Viloo Villa and then lived in England and all that. Had never had really chance to sit on the ground. So when he sat down, he was turning and twisting and putting his leg here. So Baba said, "You're uncomfortable? Why don't you sit down on the chair?" So he felt ashamed, like all the elders sitting on a carpet. How could he sit down on the chair? So Dara said, "Baba, I'm fine, I'm okay." I'm not there. I heard this story from him. Then after some time later, again Baba started talking to his Manli, and then must have side of his eyes again saw Dara going left and right and one from one side to other side. And Baba said, "You're really very uncomfortable, So Dara said, "Baba, I don't mind." But the third time, Baba said, "It seems like you're suffering." So Dara said, "Baba, I don't mind suffering." Can you imagine saying in front of Baba, "I don't mind suffering"? So Baba said, "Okay, marry Amrit." So this is, because in the same trip Baba told him, he didn't say that I'm marry Amrit. The same trip Baba told him.
He didn't say marry Amrit. He said he would be. He had already found the right girl to be my wife.
He said,
of course, it turned out to be you, but that's a different story.
He makes lots of mistakes. Baba said perfect, he says right. No, Baba said right. Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of my childhood. My family came in contact with Baba in New Lifetime. And before coming in 49 to Dehradun, he sent some of his disciples there, a part of his Manli, to go in Dehradun and look place for him. He wanted to go and spend lots of time in Dehradun. So these people were looking around and they couldn't find the place. So they were communicating with Baba and said, "Baba, the type of place you want, we're not able to find that type of area. So Baba said, okay, from the main city, go 4 or 5 miles in that direction, and then that turn half a mile in that direction. And it happened to be my father's house when these people came according to Baba's directions. And they asked my father. Father knew nothing about Baba or Baba people or anything, but they requested my father if he would help them to find some land. So my father said, oh, my neighbors want to sell his property, and there's a little cottage too, if you want, we can. And so my father started helping these people. They were some from city and some were from Delhi and all that, and knew very little about this village. It used to be called Mazri Mafi. Later on, my father has changed the name to Meher Mafi, means Baba's forgiveness. Anyway, so father helped these people to build this cottage there. Then that time, by the time Baba came after several months later, but he came to Dehradun, but he didn't come to this cottage as yet. He was in came to the railway station, and from there, this railway station in Dehradun. I'm a bit tired today, that's why I wanted him to tell the stories. So that was the last station, and Baba must have sent the message that I'm not stopping in Dehradun, I'm not going to that cottage which you built and that property, I'll be traveling. So anybody wants to come visit me at the station, and after that we will. So as my father was with these Baba lovers, and he really liked them, their work, the way they were so sincere and doing their work. For somebody, they never mentioned Baba's name because Baba had told them that time not to say Meher Baba openly. So they used to say our brother, our elder brother, he wants this. But my father felt something that what respect, what devotion, what love they have for their elder brother, and he really liked these people. And so when the time came, Baba is in railway station. Somebody said, Kumar, my father's name is Shatrughan, Kumar is our last name, so he was called as Kumar. Kumar, we're going to railway station and our big brother is coming. Would you like to come and, be there to see him? So my father said yes, because noticing, their love for their brother. So he goes to railway station and he stands far away quite far away, but he sees that this man with the long hair, wearing beautiful white long, like Sadra Baba used to wear with the pajamas and then Sadra on top of that, and talking to people or something like that. So my father, when he saw him, that's his first time he's looking at this man, saying, and then he realized that how people are crying in front of him and trying to bow down to him, and and he's embracing them. He realized he's more than just their elder brother. So he says in his mind, whoever he is, I would like to serve him for the rest of my life. Just the thought came in his mind, and that moment when this thought comes in his mind that he would love to serve this person for the rest of his life, Baba asked his followers who were standing in front of him, I hope you have arranged some food for me and my companions and all that. And for whatever reason, out of excitement or not thinking or nothing, there was no food. And Baba was still going to travel further from there. So Baba said, you haven't arranged any food, but can it be done? Can any food be brought? So my father, who's standing there, like schoolboy, he lifts his hand up. He said, I'll bring the food. So Baba said, who's he? So they said, Baba, he's Kumar. He's the one for last several months helping us to build that house. And so Baba said, yes, call him. So my father goes to Baba and, after introduction, all that. But Baba knew. Baba said, but don't live near the station. You live far away from here. Could you? And so bring the food within an hour time? So my father said, yes. Yeah, he will do that. He said he's got a motorbike and he will bring the food on time. So father said, okay. Baba said, okay. So father left, and my family, they are farmers. So they had a few things always at home, like Dehradun is very famous for Dehradun basmati rice, and we grow some vegetables and things. So when my father reached home, he said, I had offered some food, but I have to be back within an hour. What can we do? So my mother, who's pregnant with me that time, so here that's how I fit in now. So my mother said, yes, we can make a vegetable pilav, like a vegetable biryani type of thing. And it cooks very fast. Vegetable you throw in the rice, cook with some ghee, oil, whatever, and so we can do that. So she did that within half an hour. She cooked that, and my father with a servant boy on motorbike with a whole pot. They come back to railway station. Now the Meher Baba's story starts. When he comes to the railway station, he notices that nothing has changed, not even like when you blink and things don't change in that side. Everything was exactly the same. Baba is standing there, his one hand is on this table. He's talking to somebody. Arich is helping some people to take the trunks out of the train compartment or whatever we call. And this woman is standing there with a kid and with weeping. Like not even, yet he was almost 1 hour, came back after 1 hour, but he noticed. So he in his mind, he said, who is he? Gives me this feeling to serve him, and now, what is it? Is it some magician or something? Why I'm feeling? But he didn't say anything. He didn't tell anybody about it, and he just brought the food and kept it on the table. Things start moving out. Baba asked somebody to bring the plates, paper plates and things. He started passing everybody and serving himself, Baba. And all of a sudden, father realized Baba has given plates to many more people, even the local visitors too, apart from his companions. And he said, my God, first impression will be so bad. I mean, like food won't be enough. But the magic word, of course, the food was enough. Then it was sent to the ladies' side. My father never heard that there are ladies travel with Baba too. Mira, Mani, Dr. Goher. Dr. Goher? I think Meheru.
He was there.
Yeah. And so the food disappears in somewhere ladies' compartment or something like that. So my father is feeling very embarrassed that he will, there will be not enough food for everyone. But when the pot came back, there was still some left over. So my father said, I had a feeling that this is a prasad from Baba, this leftover for whoever. So he brings, meanwhile he's seeing what's happening, how people are trying to, worship him, literally, folded hand and crying and all. So my father brings that leftover food to home, and he said that was being a farmer from that day onward. His farms, his property, his fruits, everything was like doubling. Everything was like Baba flourished. Baba sent this. Father used to tell us this story. Then Baba went here and there, but Baba asked my father, would he, we'll be staying like something like 10 miles away from our house, like 4 or 5 miles to the main city, and then he was towards the mountain. He said, food was so good, can your wife and you provide the food for us? And my father said, yes, Baba. So every day he will take food for him. Baba never took anything free. He didn't take advantage of anybody's, a farmer's generosity and all that. So he always would offer money and things with my father. Said, Baba, I'm a farmer, there's so much this thing. But then there was always Baba would do through his monthly something in return to my family. And so Naja has told, or Gohera told, Baba likes your food very much, but as he had already lost his teeth and all that, he needs very softer rice and little plain dal. That was his famous rice and dal, and little chutney. Chutney is like a ground spices and things, not hot, but something like. So can your wife, now they knew Kumar and my mother Subhadra, can Subhadra make little softer separate rice and little dal for Baba with little chutney? And my father said yes. So every day my mother will pack Mandli's food, a nice big bowls, and then a small little thing. One day, my father is there with the Mandli now. He's friends with them. He is even traveling a little bit with Baba, going to Haridwar, Rishikesh, towards the Masuri Hills and all that. And being in politics and all that, he knew lots of politicians or good families who had big homes and things like that, who would let my father use that for Meher Baba. So my father was helping out because that was his territory, his area. So one day he brought the food, and all of a sudden he sees there's a panic. And Goyar comes running, "Where's Baba's food?" And my mother had forgot to pack that, I believe. So what Baba going to eat, and this and so my father got very annoyed with, he comes home and he tells his wife that how come, he forgot Baba's, right now they're completely Babaites, Baba lovers. How could you do that, something like that, and Baba didn't eat food. And so my mother started respecting Baba, but not like my father surrendered immediately from first day. She says, so what? Big deal, forgot. He could eat other food, there was enough. My father got so angry, he slept. And those days, I guess, husbands were bad. No, that was the first time. So he slept, for arguing and saying, so what if Meher Baba didn't get the food? And that was too much for my father to take. Meanwhile, here, Baba said to his Mandli, "Where's Kumar?" Baba Kumar left immediately when he heard your food didn't come, and he was very angry. So Baba sent one of his Mandli on bicycle, "Go immediately there at Kumar's place and tell not to be angry with his wife." So after some time later, when this person, one of the Mandli, reaches there, and said, Baba sent me Kumar, and Baba said not to be angry with your wife. So my father's a bit too late. It's already, So Baba came to know that he was very angry, and even he slapped her. So then, after quite some time, Baba used to come to this village. He saw this cottage, even asked if there can be a well dug there. So it's my father supervised to have a well close by. And then one day, now my mother tells, I'm born by that time. It's months passing by with all these things. And so my mother is there with the young baby, and in the kitchen, all of a sudden there's a news, Baba's car has come, Baba is there, Baba's there. So everybody, and my mother said, she just not even dressed to greet him and all. Anyway, she comes out, and Baba come right front of my mother. So my mother, standing there with folded hand to say, Jai Baba or whatever they said that time. And Baba did the same thing to her. And Baba said, look at our beloved, look at our... He said to her, Subhadra, forgive me. Because of me, your husband was angry with you and he even slapped you. And he really kind of bowed to her and asked for her forgiveness. That Baba did that. Yes, yeah. And that way, that was Meher Baba's way to bring her to his fold. Even she felt, my God, even. And what else? I reminded you, remind me.
I think our time is up.
Time is up?
Thank you. Thank you. 15 more minutes. Oh, dear.
15, not 15.
No, I know, but...
Yeah. So I'll tell you how I got this name, Amrit. So now I'm a couple of months old, and my mother is befriended with the Mandli ladies, and they will come to our house. My mother will go and think. I have other siblings too, but being, I think, the small baby, my mother must have carried me often. So once Baba is going to Haridwar. I don't know, some of these words you might not understand, but you must have heard about Haridwar, where the Ganges come from the mountains. And every 12 years, they have this big gathering there, Kumbh Mela. And that it was a time of Kumbh Mela where the thousands and thousands of these yogis and rishis and Brahmins, Pandits, all will come and take a dip in a Ganges. That day is supposed to be very auspicious. If you dip certain day, all your sins wash away and things like that is the it is still happening. So Baba wanted to go Haridwar that day, so my father arranged this place for him right next to there's Ganges, there's steps going, and there's a house and there's the steps from the road, but you could get down and go to Ganges. So Baba was there with his mandli, and so before leaving, Baba said, Kumar, you coming with us? Bring your wife too. But my father said, Baba, my wife can't come. She got a very young baby, couple of months old, and so Baba said, doesn't matter, bring her, bring the baby too. So in new lifetime, I traveled, yes, and I'm the last person who traveled in new lifetime with Baba. Everybody died. Yes. And so when I'm in a ladies' compartment, my mother and myself, Mehra asked, was the baby call? So my mother said, we haven't named her yet. I don't know what they were calling me. Kuchu. So we haven't named the baby yet. So I said, haven't named the baby? She said, no, I wanted to ask Baba and you people, but I was feeling a little shy, but now you're asking me, would you name the baby? So Mehra and Mani chose this name, Amrit, for me, but they wouldn't do anything without asking Baba's permission. So they asked Baba, can we name little baby Amrit? So that's how I got the name Amrit while in train. So then the other thing to finish the story, so I stayed, and Mehra was very concerned because it was one bungalow, upstairs, downstairs, excuse me, that baby will cry and Baba will get disturbed at night. So Mehra said, Subhadra, what are you going to do? Did you bring some food for her if the baby cries and things like that? She says, no, she doesn't. I was a very good baby. She says, no, baby won't cry. What happened later on, I don't know. But as a baby, I was good. Yeah.
Now you make others cry.
Yeah. And so where I was?
Mehra concerned.
So Mehra says, no, I feed her and she's young and this thing, I'll take care of that. But all of a sudden they were sitting and talking about, Mehra talking to my mother about baby. Baba comes to the room and he gives a couple of we call them biscuits, cookies, like plain simple ones, to everyone. And I believe he pinches little one and puts it in my mouth. So that was, my first food came from him too. Yeah, so I'm very special.
Yes.
And then later on, years later, when Baba arranged our marriage, and we got married, which we'll tell tomorrow how it all happened. One day after the marriage, I was, you tell that part. When
What?
The baby was put on his lap. Mm-hmm. I like that.
You like that?
It's a little baby story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what Amrit wants me to narrate is, this is after the wedding. We were fortunate that Baba would invite us to visit with him in his room at Merazad. He wasn't able to go to Mandi Hall, but he'd call us into his room. Amrit was staying at Merazad. She had the good fortune to stay there. I was at Viloo's, but I'd come there and spend the day there with Baba. So on this occasion, when we were with Baba in his room, Baba turns to me, as I said, in that visit 64, 65, when he first told me that he'd already chosen the right girl to be my wife. 4 years later, I found out who that right girl was, Amrit. But anyway, after the wedding, one of the days we were with Baba, Baba turns to me and he says, Dara, when Amrit was just a baby and I was visiting her home in Dehradun, her mother brought her and placed her on my lap to have my blessings. And that's when I chose her for you. So
child marriage, cradle snatcher. You're not recording, are you?
There we are. That's
yeah.
Yep.
So that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we'll tell other stories. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
Okay?
Can we,
Yeah,
thank
Jai
you.
Baba. Thank you. Thank you.